Thank you, Mr. Graves. Mr. Whitaker, as you well know, the plans often must be revised during the execution to reflect unforeseen challenges and factors. Over the past few months, has Boeing taken any additional steps outside its safety and quality plan in response to new discoveries or new information?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing. Could you just repeat the question, please?
As we all know, plans often must be revised during execution to reflect unforeseen factors and challenges. Over the past few months, has Boeing taken any additional steps outside its safety and quality plan in response to any new information or new discoveries?
I can't give you specific examples. What I can say is that we have teams on the ground with Boeing, and they do give real-time feedback. So, for example, as they're simplifying business processes or rolling out a tool management program, they're getting real-time feedback from the FAA, and the approach and the plan is designed to be flexible to account for that feedback. So I would anticipate that the answer is yes, but I don't have specific examples to give you.
Do you know if at Boeing, if an employee sees what he thinks is a problem in manufacturing and safety, can he report that if he chooses or she chooses to the union so that the union can look into it and take it up to Boeing, or does he have to, is there requirements that it goes straight to Boeing and to the...
So the employee has multiple avenues. They can certainly go to their union, making sure that there is a system that encourages them to speak up directly to Boeing is in place. We're monitoring very closely. That is a key factor of a good safety culture. And they can also report directly to FAA through our website. They can log in and to Air 21 Whistleblower and file a complaint right on our website.
Changing Boeing's culture, systems, and processes will take time. What changes has the FAA seen so far in these areas, and which parts of the company have been the most resistant to any needed cultural changes?
I think the safety culture change is going to be a long-term project. They have put together a safety training program to roll out. That's been put on hold as union negotiations continue. That's ready to roll out, but I think it's going to take years of delivering that safety message and the employees actually seeing that safety is more important than production before that culture to change. So it's going to take a very long-term sustained commitment. The changes we've seen in the short term have been around deploying new technologies, assessing employee culture and things of that nature.
Did they ever ascertain who the individual was who didn't put the plugs back on the Alaska airplane?
That incident is still under investigation from the NTSB, so I don't have any additional information to provide at this time.
Thank you. And you've met with Mr. Ortberg, I know. Do you think he will lead the company differently from Mr. Calhoun and his predecessors, and if so, how?
Well, I think we've been very careful not to have opinions on personnel changes. There have been a lot of personnel changes, and I've spoken to the board fairly extensively about what we think management should be focused on. I've had those conversations with Mr. Ortberg, too. I think because he's an engineer, because he comes from aerospace, I think he has a pretty good understanding of the need for safety culture, and we'll make sure that he pursues that.
As I understand it, Boeing has purchased or taken back Spirit, and Boeing at one time had Spirit, separated it, brought it back. Do you think that's going to help? And do you think that they're spinning off Spirit and some of the labor issues they might have had then might have contributed to it less than a perfect situation for the employees' diligence?
I do think that the amount of outsourcing that Boeing undertook strategically created a lot of supply chain challenges that other companies may not have experienced if they had more control over their supply chain. And Boeing seems to be taking a different direction in that approach. We've been agnostic about whether it's a good idea or a bad idea for them to execute that specific transaction. But if Spirit is part of Boeing, it gives us direct authority over Spirit. Currently, Boeing has a responsibility to oversee Spirit as a supplier. So it gives us a better line of sight into what they're doing.
Airbus is Boeing's major competitor. Embraer also produces a lot of airplanes. Do either one of them have different systems that Boeing could incorporate or needs to look at and incorporate? Because they have, to the best of my knowledge, have not had these similar problems.
I think I don't have intimate knowledge of the Embraer and Airbus manufacturing challenges. I know that as we benchmark airworthiness directives and faults and production faults, we find that there's not a big difference between the two. I think when you look at the key indicators we're monitoring, those would be the same for most manufacturing facilities.
Thank you, sir. In the spirit of George Miller and Sheila Jackson Lee, who always gave up their time when they didn't have any time, I give up the rest of my time.